This is for you, Emily, George, and for you, Jerry, and all the other members of your class. From far...
Oh, little place out in Missouri.
No, sir. Stand right up and tell him, quiet-like,
I'm from St. James, Missouri.
There'll come a time, Jerry, after you've grown up and gone into the world, when you'll want to know the whole story. Then you can look back, maybe, and feel there's something sort of special about the place you came from. You'll feel that you belong, and it belongs together with a lot of other special towns to a history and tradition that have made this country what it is. You see, long ago it took a lot of people who weren't afraid of work or danger, and who had the vision to plan and build and dream. It took them to make a home and to create a whole new industry in the wilderness. Back around 1820, the only people who lived in this region were Indians and a few white men. The Indians around here were Shawnees, and they used to decorate themselves with a dark red earth they found near a river they called Maramec. There's a story that in 1825, some of these Indians were on a journey to Washington to see the president. One day they camped near Chillicothe, Ohio, which was then the capital of the Northwest Territory.
I'm certain, Sam. Look at this painting. I'm going back with these Indians to wherever they came from. Because this is iron, I tell you. It's iron just waiting for us to mine it, to mold it, and to sell it.
So Thomas James, an ironmaster and banker of Chillicothe, went with the Shawnee Indians over 500 miles to the west. And in the valley of the so-called Maramec, there was built the Maramec Iron Works. Only 10 years later, in 1835, George Engelman, a physician and naturalist traveling through this region, wrote,
"You remember that I began my letter yesterday evening on a hill from which I looked down a grassy valley rimmed with well-wooded heights of such an elevation that for the first time I am tempted to speak of mountains. The brook is one of the tributaries of the Maramec. In a short while, I heard the familiar clanking of mills and forges, the rush of the stream of water through the sluices and over the waterfalls. Then I came to the Maramec Iron Works lying before me. The situation is really romantic. There is something imposing in this union of the solitude of nature and the wilderness and the busy striving of man. Behind the ironworks, a narrow ravine extends into the hill. A narrow footpath leads along the edge of a stream. The path stops at a massive limestone rock at the foot of which the stream issues from a basin about 25 paces across. It seems hard to believe that only 10 years ago, all about, there was barren wilderness.
In 1843, William James, son of Thomas, took over the management of the ironworks built it to its greatest influence, and guided its fortunes for over 30 years. It's difficult to visualize from the few existing ruins how extensive Maramec village and the ironworks really were. At its height, there were some 500 men employed, and the land owned or controlled by William James was over 10,000 acres. There was a hotel, a general store and post office, barns and corral, carpenter shop and wagon shop, blacksmith shop, and grist mill. Strung along the road to the ore pits were the workers' houses, of which only one chimney remains. The existence of the ironworks depended upon four things: oak trees for charcoal, water power, limestone for flux, and, of course, iron ore. This was known as a coal blast furnace operation. Air was delivered unheated to the furnace from the blower house through an iron pipe 18 inches in diameter and about 300 feet long. The cast iron compressor with a 30-inch piston was powered by a huge undershot water wheel 16 feet in diameter. Charges of ore, charcoal, limestone, and charred wood stumps were placed in the furnace from the top, and an average of 15 to 20 tons of pig iron was produced each day. While some of the pigs were shipped, many were refined in the forges to be converted into wrought iron. One of the large trip hammers was brought from Kentucky by a mule team in 1828. That must have been quite a trip when you consider that just one piece of the hammer weighs more than 3 tons. During the Civil War, Union forces laid siege to Vicksburg with gunboats made in St. Louis. In 1863, the Rolla Express commented,
"The iron with which these boats are sheathed is very elastic and of rather a waxy character, which will bend and cleave to the ball rather than break. This superior quality of iron is obtained from Maramec Iron Works in our county, worked by William James, Esquire, and is a mine of the most valuable ore in the world."
As Maramec became more firmly established through the years, the supervisors and principal staff members of the ironworks built their own comfortable homes in the surrounding hills. William James and his family, in accordance with his position, lived in the largest and most comfortable house of all at Maramec until 1866. Then he moved to a new town, which was some 6 miles to the northwest on the line of the new railroad, which came by in 1860. This town was created largely as a shipping point for Maramec iron, and if any one person could be called the founder of the town, it was William James, who, with his brother-in-law, James A. Dunn, drew up the plan, signed it, and they called it Jamestown, after William's father, Thomas. But they figured there were too many James towns already, so they called it St. James. When William James moved to the new town, he erected a mansion so remarkable that in 1870, a reporter in the Rolla Herald could only describe it as
the elegant estate Dunmore, with its bowers and balconies, gardens and conservatories, that is our Dunmore. The fields and meadows surrounding this beautiful place are in harmony with everything and throws the beholder in perfect ecstasy.
The railroad may have decided the location of St. James, and it certainly brought prosperity to Phelps County in many ways. But strangely enough, it also contributed to the decreasing business at the ironworks. For now, iron from new and larger plants far distant was able to compete directly in the market with iron from Maramec. Competition on the one hand, and a general business depression topped by the J. Cook panic in 1873, forced William James to offer his workers a choice: take no pay or take your pay in scrip. This method of payment was fairly common in those days, but these emergency measures were not enough to keep the fires at Maramec burning. The increasing competition of iron from the north coming at an unfortunate time of economic depression throughout the nation, sealed the fate of Maramec. In 1878, after 52 years of operation, the ironworks closed forever. And all that physically remains of this once great venture is ruins and records. But the influence of Maramec, its memories and traditions, can never be forgotten. And they're etched to this day on the map of Missouri. Take the roads to Jefferson City, to Herman, to Springfield, to Steelville, to Caledonia, to St. Genevieve, to New Madrid and Licking. All these roads and others too were authorized by the legislature, laid out, and originally built to enable Maramec to transport its iron by mule team to the Gasconade River, Mississippi River, and other points. And the Missouri School of Mines at Rolla, the influence of William James and the prominence of the ironworks in the area had a great deal to do with the decision by the Missouri legislature in 1870 to establish this highly respected school located within 10 miles of Maramec. And of course, most important, St. James. St. James might never have been without the ironworks, and it certainly wouldn't be right where it is now.
Well, a lot of water has gone over the dam since William James and James A. Dunn laid out those plans for St. James back in 1859. Oh, by the way, you've heard of Dun and Bradstreet, the credit rating company? Well, that James A. Dunn, his brother, was the one who founded R.G. Dunn and Company that later became Dun and Bradstreet. High school is a nice building, big gymnasium and all. Nice stores, too. St. James got a lot of churches. William James originally built the Methodist Church here in 1871 as a community meeting house for all the different denominations. This is Boys Town in Missouri, about 2 miles out of town. It takes on the job of making useful citizens out of neglected boys and problem boys. We got a state federal soldiers' home, too. Dunmore is right in the middle of it now. They sort of built the soldiers' home right around Dunmore after the Jameses no longer owned it back in the 1870s. Here are some of the old family homes, like the Smith home, the Ten Eyck home, the Carson home, and the Helmuth home. And here are some of our newer homes. You know, come to think of it, the whole United States is getting to look more and more like St. James. We don't have many rich people, or poor ones either. I guess that's why we like to call this our town, our hometown.
Those houses and this community came from vision and labor and thrift, Jerry. But from something more, too. Through a lot of generations, people cared about this place. Take William James' granddaughter, Lucy James. She got pretty far from here at times. New York, Washington, Newport, Tokyo. But this was home. She's buried in our cemetery on Maramec Street. Her heart seemed always to be here. Before she died in 1938, she arranged with the New York Community Trust to carry out some plans she'd formed for the benefit of her Missouri neighbors. So the James Foundation was set up in order to give us a local management agency right here in Phelps County. That's one reason why you children and our town's future children, for all time, can have wholesome and wonderful memories of childhood in St. James. Thanks to Lucy James, the town got a new library, but it got far more than that. It got a community center where you and your class, Jerry, not only come to story time in the morning, but in summer, lots of children have fun in Lucy's Playhouse, a reconstruction of the same little cottage that Lucy James played in when she was a child. There are movies for you and for grown-ups. And when summer evenings are nice, recorded concerts over the public address system can take the place of the old-time brass band concerts on the village green. Meetings, lectures, or group discussions are often held in the library on weekday evenings. But of course, it's a library most of all, the public library of the whole area. This means that the 12,000 books here must be easily available to some 27 communities and to all the people in an area of 720 square miles. Hidden away in the woods on the same 55-acre piece of land the library stands on is the Scout Lodge. It was built in 1954 by the James Foundation. Here a boy can hoot and holler and run around all he wants to, and no one's going to be upset. The annual Grape and Fall Festival is held in St. James every September. It goes on for 3 whole days, and it's a lot more than just the big event of the year.
Round that couple and take a peek. Meet in the center and swing your sweep. Round that couple and peek once more. Meet in the center and swing all four. Swing all four in the middle of the floor. Now circle 4, halfway around, shoot 'em through and on to the next. Round that couple and take a peek. Meet in the center and swing your sweep. Round that couple and peek once more. Meet in the center and swing all four. Swing all four in the middle of the floor. Now circle 4, halfway around, shoot 'em through and on to the last. Round that couple and take.
Coming at harvest time, it's sort of a Thanksgiving custom, you might say. A Thanksgiving for the yield of the soil that has fed us and the richer yield from labor of every kind that has sustained our lives. Trinity Church was one of Lucy James' particular loves. Perhaps one reason was because her grandfather, William James, helped to establish it and was also a choir leader and vestryman here. And Maramec, the valley that used to ring out with sound of forge, hammer, and anvil, is now a bird refuge, wildlife sanctuary, and fishing preserve covering some 1,600 acres. And the forest that furnished the charcoal for the furnaces is now a tree farm, serving as a notable example of good hardwood timber management.
As this is considered to be the most beautiful spot in Missouri, it is my great hope that you will arrange that it may ever be in private, considerate control and ever open to the enjoyment of the people.
This is for you, Jerry, from Maramec Village of long ago to St. James, Missouri of the future.